had seen enough of the strangeness in DeSilvio's house, and despite Claire's face radiating with innocence and sincere concern, I knew that DeSilvio's odd ways were unnatural and unholy, and my hands pushed the stone bowl off its stand and sent it falling towards the floor. Claire let out a scream and reached for the plummeting stone container, but it was too late. The basin made a great thud as it struck the hard floor, and the contents of the bowl rushed out over the lacquered wooden planks with a hissing sound that pierced the air as a cloud of white smoke arose. When the smoke cleared, I saw DeSilvio laying on his back against the steps leading up to the altar, with his arms and legs spread out on either side of him, as Claire clutched his chest and sobbed. He was gasping for breath and trying to speak with her. The image of his face seemed to shift like an out-of-tune video signal, and I couldn't hear his whispered words as he stared into Claire's eyes with a look of gentle affection. And then his eyes rolled upward underneath his eyelids, and his head fell back against the stairs. And as I watched, DeSilvio seemed to age at a horrifying pace. His skin became thin and dry as his hair turned white and then brittle. His clothing sunk in as the skin on his hands turned to yellow, like some ancient parchment. He was literally wasting away before my very eyes. And then, the flesh on his cheeks seemed to crumble and sink like sand into the empty cavity of his skull. And in seconds, all that was left underneath his clothing was a yellow-boned skeleton. I looked at Claire. She sat there looking at DeSilvio's remains with a blank expression, as if all of her radiance and vibrant personality had retreated behind the doors of her horror. And then something happened so fast that my eyes could barely follow. A dark shape whisked past me and seemed to scoop Claire up off the floor, and by the time I could follow the movement to where it had ended, I saw Claire standing limply beside the stone basin where it lay on the floor, with a large arm wrapped around her waist, as if someone were holding her around the waist, lifting up her body into a standing position, while positioned just behind her. As I looked at the skin of the arm holding Claire, something about it was oddly familiar, and as another arm reached from behind Claire, the light glinted off a shiny object held in the hand. The arm on the left holding Claire loosened its grasp and allowed her to bend forward over the bowl as the hand of the arm on the right holding the shiny object made a very quick movement just under Claire's chin, and a series of red ribbons trickled down from her neck and into the basin. The beautiful girl didn't say a word as her blood poured down and filled the basin, and my heart stopped as I heard the raspy voice behind her speak to me. "I really must thank you," the voice said, and then as the last drops of Claire's blood splashed into the stone bowl, the arms holding her let her lifeless body drop to the floor, and there was the woman I had met in the basement. Had you not interfered, I could never have slaughtered the girl. The woman stretched her arms out in the air over the bowl, and the blood glowed bright red, and the luminous fingers of redness, this time radiating with power, stretched up towards her fingertips. "DeSilvio was always such a coward," she said, as the glowing tendrils wrapped around her fingers like ghostly ivy entwining the branches of a tree. "He wanted us to live in peace with you disgusting vermin." And then the woman suddenly stretched out her hand toward me, and a long, black, slimy rod of horrific ooze that writhed like a living thing glided through the air toward me. And then in a quick movement, it pierced my chest, and I could feel it break the skin of my back as it impaled me. I instantly felt lightheaded as my heart struggled to pump blood to my brain, and my vision began to fade as if a dark shade were being slowly pulled in front of my eyes from all sides. The last thing I saw before my body collapsed was the woman's face wrapped completely in red, shiny vines, as they seemed to be feeding her with mystical power. I heard her raspy laugh ring through the air, and the veil of darkness around my vision closed completely, and I felt my body collapse against the floor.